What's going on, everyone? So, Steph Curry was recently asked, about the Warriors and his career and stuff, and he said, it's tough, right? I've always said I wanted to be a Warrior for life. Curry said, at this stage in my career, I feel like that's possible. Now, the Warriors are at the end of an era, right? The Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and Steph Curry are no more, right? The dynasty is dead. And Klay Thompson, we'll see what he does with the Dallas Mavericks, got to wish him the best of luck. But from a Warriors standpoint and a Steph Curry standpoint, it's very interesting, right? I mean, Draymond has even kind of flirted with the idea of potentially leaving the Warriors. They end up giving him his money, right? You heard all the just heartbreak of losing Klay, which I get it, right? Like, I mean, these three, they're three amigos, right? They won all the championships together. It's tough, but all good things come to an end. And the Warriors are in this sort of rock in a hard place almost, right? Like, you want to do right by Steph. You want Steph to not be one of those guys that it's like, at the end of his career, like, couldn't even make the playoffs or anything like that. And he's still incredible. He's still great, right? Like, if he was having, some clear decline or, he clearly was just like a shell of his former self or something, then I can understand, kind of just being like, hey, let's ride off into the sunset together. Let's do this the right way. But the other side of things, and I'll touch on this more later, is for the Warriors standpoint, it almost makes more sense for them to trade Steph. Now, I know Warrior fans wouldn't be happy with that. And also, Steph is not really the guy that I think would ask out, right? I don't necessarily think Steph is the guy that would be like, hey, get me out of here, right? I want to go somewhere else. So I do think it would have to be the Warriors that initiate that, and that could not bode well. But again, we'll touch on that here in a moment. First step is obviously trying to keep Steph, right? You want to keep Steph. He is the Golden State Warriors, right? Like, I mean, what he's done for that franchise and city and all that, it's unprecedented, for those standards, right? And so you see a lot of names of like Lauri Markkanen and, the Warriors trying to push hard for Lauri Markkanen, and they seem to be the team that's most likely to acquire him. I do think at this point, if he does end up getting traded, more likely than not, it's probably to the Warriors. But again, it's like, how much of this is just a move just to make a move? I actually like the Warriors offseason and actually think that they're better than they were last year. Are they contender level better? That I don't know. But Steph's greatness can't be just underlooked, right? Like, I mean, even in 2020, there was even the Warriors themselves, Draymond and stuff, said they didn't even think that they were winning a chip. Like, they just did not look like a great basketball. They didn't look like a contender. And then they got to the playoffs, they did their things, you get the right matchups, things kind of break your way, and all of a sudden you're hoisting the Larry O'Brien trophy, right? But, like, to me, I also kind of feel like if you're going to make the move, you want to make the right move, right? You definitely need to get Steph a second guy. That's really been the problem. Klay was not the number 2 anymore. Andrew Wiggins is not the same guy he once was. Kuminga's too inconsistent at times, right? Like, it's just, you need a clear-cut number 2 guy for Steph. You need somebody that can come in and take the burden off of Steph of having to be great game in and game out, night in and night out, especially as he only gets older, right? And I don't know if Lauri Markkanen is necessarily that move, right? It kind of feels like it's the best move available at the moment, but he doesn't have the best injury history. Is he really a number 2 on a championship team, right? Like, because you're also going to have to pay him 40 plus. You're going to have to pay him like he's a real number 2. Right? And that's the problem. And then all the assets you have to give up, right? It looks like the Warriors tried to offer Moses Moody in a pick-heavy package. Doesn't really seem like Utah's really interested in that, taking on Moses Moody. Like, they want Pod or they want Kuminga and stuff. So, do they find a common ground? Do they find a middle ground? Possibly. But, I get the whole, you don't want to look too much for the future when you have Steph now. But you don't have that secondary piece, right? You don't have that piece where it's like, man, like him and Steph were a contender. We just need that. You get Lauri Markkanen, and now we're a true contender. Like, I just don't think the Warriors are there personally. I think you have this influx of just really good young talent that you can grow, mold, and develop. I almost feel like you're better off just kind of just seeing how this plays out. If it doesn't go well, right, save your assets. It maybe somebody better comes along, right? Like, what if, Milwaukee's terrible next year and Giannis wants out, right? And now you just traded everything to go get a guy and Lauri Markkanen when you could have used all that and then some to go get a Giannis, right? Like, and I get, one in the hand is worth two in the bush, but the one in the hand is not so good that it's like you don't at least look in the bush, right? Like, and that's the thing. But like, if it doesn't work out and you're not able to find that clear-cut guy to pair with Steph, I think if you're the organization, I think you at least talk to him. Imagine what you could get for Steph Curry, right? Imagine the return and package you could get to add to your young core, the picks, everything you could get. I mean, you'd be set up great for the future. You could trade Draymond too. Like, there's still teams that would take Draymond. Like, you could probably trade, like, just tear it down. Run it with Pod and Trace Jackson and, and Kuminga and Moody, and just let the young guys go out and just be crazy, right? Let them go ball out. Let them grow, develop, right? Like, you have some real pieces on your, Kuminga looks like a guy that could potentially be a star, right? Like, and it's just, to me, again, I'm not saying you necessarily should. It's hard. It's a tough position to be in if you're the Warriors, right? Because you want Steph to retire a Warrior, right? But in the same breath, it's like, if you can set up your future, Steph can go to a place where he can potentially win another championship, right? And if you do right by Steph, I think you'll have the people that are initially upset, but if Steph's on board and all parties are kind of involved and they're like, hey, we want to do right by Steph because he did right by us, and look at what we got. We got all this young talent. We got all this stuff, right? And we're ready to build for the future. And, we got picks and we're in this great position. And, you help Steph go to where he wants. You're not sending Steph to like Detroit or anything like that. So, you're trying to send him to a contender. Hey, where do you want to go? What place, what destination would you prefer? And you work it out. Right? You work out whatever he wants to do. You do right by Steph. That shows well for other stars later on down the road. So you look like the good guy, right? Steph comes out and says, hey, we talked about it. Like, this is best for all of us. The Warriors get to now build for the future. I get to go and, try to compete for another championship, right? Like, and I don't think anybody at the end of the day will be that upset. I think you'll have the initial bothersome, right? Like, people just, man, like, can't believe the Warriors traded Steph. How could they do that? But I think once things set in and you really kind of allow the dust to settle, I think everyone will kind of be like, okay, this was what was best for both sides. Now, again, I don't necessarily think that'll happen. I don't necessarily think that Steph, I don't think the organization will go to Steph and do it. And I don't think Steph will. I just think it's like, it's like the couple that should divorce, but neither want to make the first step, right? That's kind of how I feel with Steph, right? Like, what's best for Steph in his career would be to go win another championship, right? And, put himself in that standing. It wouldn't be one of those situations where he's just ring chasing. Like, it wouldn't be like, no, it's a different circumstance rather than he's in the prime of his career. Like, it wouldn't be a Kevin Durant to the Warriors situation, right? Like, it would be a situation where it's like, no, he's at the end of his career, right? The Warriors want to go into a rebuild position. They want to go into a rebuild mode. This makes sense for everybody. All parties are happy. I just think that's about as amicably as it could get. I think that is the best course of action for all sides. But again, it's tough, right? Because it's like, he's the Golden State Warriors. Like, that's your child, like that, and you don't want to see your child go away to college or grow up or anything like that, right? Like, he's been the face of the Warriors now, and he will probably continue to be the face of the Warriors forever, right? Like, he's a guy that, it's not like, even when he retires, people are going to be like, oh, yeah, Steph was cool. No, like, he's going to be a guy that's going to go down for a guy that changed the game, right? Is the best player the Warriors have ever had. Like, it's just going to go down as this just, he's an icon at this point, right? He's a legend. And it's hard to kind of unload those guys. It's hard to want to move off of those guys, especially when they're willing to kind of stay and ride it out. But, I just think you owe it to do right by Steph one way or the other. You owe it to do right by Steph by either getting him the right pieces to where he can contend again, or if you can't do right by Steph by sending him to a place he wants to go, sending him to a contender, and allowing him to try to go and contend for another championship. That's what I think. I think you put him in a position to, hey, like let's go help you get another ring or two. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass a question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you agree? Do you think you got to do right by Steph? You gotta either trade him or get him the pieces he needs to contend for a championship? Do you think no? Hey, it happens to everybody. Right, all stars at some point get to the except for LeBron, but outside of him, right? Every star gets to the point where they're on a team, and it's all right, but the problem is just Steph is so great still. That's the thing that kind of bugs. But anyway, again, how you feel, whatever your thoughts are, let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot, so we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.